All right, guys, so we are now in Unit 3, Lesson 2, Quick Changes to Earth's Landscape. Yesterday, we learned about the slow changes. Today, we are going to learn about the quick changes. So remember, go to Google Classroom, click on the waffle, scroll all the way down till you see McGraw-Hill Education. Once you get into McGraw-Hill, some of you guys are still connected with your old school accounts. What you'll need to do is you'll need to click on the OISP, which is the school that we're in now. It stands for Online Independent Study Program. Once you guys click on Inspire Science, you guys will have something that says lessons. From lessons, you'll click on the Unit 3, click on the greater than symbol, and then go to Lesson 2, Quick Changes to Earth's Landscape. All right, now I know some of you guys are using your books. So if you're gonna be using your books, that's fine too. All right, so for science, we are gonna be working on pages 36, 37, 38, 39, 42 and 43, and then 48 and 49. I am going to be showing you guys videos of certain other things because I want you guys to be able to see quick changes and so that you can compare it to the slow changes that we've been learning about in lesson 1. So quick changes to Earth's landscape. So this isn't in your book yet. So you guys are just going to watch my screen. This is not in your book yet. We're going to encounter this phenomenon. We're going to check out this earthquake simulation to see the phenomenon of an earthquake in action. So do you guys see this earthquake? The rocks are falling. This huge like mountain is like hill is breaking apart. And like these big rocks are falling as well. I'm also going to show you guys your inquiry activity. We aren't doing your inquiry activity, so I'm just going to show you guys the video of what the project would have looked like.
Lesson, you'll use evidence to explain events that quickly change Earth's landscape. Let's look back at the video you saw earlier in the lesson. If you were recording this event, how would you describe what you see? In this activity, you'll make a model to simulate a gentle earthquake and a strong earthquake, and observe any changes that occur to your model. To carry out this investigation, you'll use safety goggles, an aluminum pan, sand, a cup with water, cubes, and twigs or craft sticks. To complete this activity, you'll create a landscape model. You will then shake the model with different amounts of force and observe how the model is affected. Before you begin, make a prediction. What will happen to a landscape when it suddenly shakes? Take a moment to share your prediction with your classmates, then select Continue. Safety first. Put your safety goggles on to keep sand out of your eyes. You'll wear safety goggles for the entire activity. Place the aluminum pan in front of you. Fill the pan halfway with damp sand. Use your spoon to shape a small mountain from the sand. If your mountain crumbles shortly after you make it, then you'll need to mix a little bit of water into the sand. Flatten your mountain once your sand is able to hold a shape. Try to keep the sand in the pan and clean up any sand that lands outside of the pan. Place twigs in the sand to model trees. We substituted craft sticks for the twigs. Use the cubes to make several buildings in your model. Draw your landscape and record your data by labeling Earth's surface, trees, and the buildings. When you finish drawing and labeling the landscape, select Continue. Now let's see what happens to your landscape if a small earthquake occurs. Grab your pan on opposite sides. Gently shake your pan back and forth once or twice. Record your observations. When you finish recording your observations, reset your landscape by straightening your buildings and trees. Select Continue when you're ready to move on. Now, hold the pan the same way you did before. Shake the pan a bit harder. This represents a stronger earthquake. What did you see this time? Was it different from what you saw with a gentle shake? Record your observations. Select Continue when you have finished recording your observations. Look at your model landscape. How has it changed? Draw a picture of your landscape. Include all the changes you observe. When you finish drawing your landscape, select Continue. Now that you've finished using your landscape model to gather information, take some time to communicate your findings. Use your data to complete the Communicate Information section.
All right, so what you guys are going to do right now is I'm actually going to put you guys into breakout rooms so you guys can discuss what you guys saw in this video. All right, page 36. Look for these vocabulary words as you read. Earthquake, erupt, flood, landslide, and volcano. Landscapes can change quickly. We're on page 36. You have seen that an earthquake can cause quick changes to Earth's surface. Learn more about earthquakes and other quick changes to landscapes. Earthquakes. Rocks that make up Earth's surface are pushed and pulled in different directions. Sometimes this movement causes the Earth to shake. An earthquake is a shake in Earth's crust or outer layer. An earthquake can cause a lot of damage in a few seconds. The land can bend and break. Landslides. Sometimes an earthquake can cause a landslide. A landslide is a sudden movement of soil or rock from higher to lower ground. Heavy rainfall or snowfall can cause a landslide too. Fast melting snow can also cause a landslide. The soil becomes heavy with water that slides down the hill. And then here, materials carried in a landslide move fast, sometimes as fast as a car on a freeway. So landslides, as well as earthquakes, are very quick changes that can cause a lot of damage. Now, there are questions at the bottom. So let's read those questions out loud. Ready? Number 1, how could an earthquake cause a landslide? So let's reread. Sometimes an earthquake can cause a landslide. A landslide is a sudden movement of soil or rock from higher to lower ground. And what does an earthquake do? An earthquake is a shake in Earth's crust or outer layer. So how could an earthquake cause a landslide? An earthquake might happen on a hill. When the ground on the hill shakes, the soil could come loose and fall down the hill. Okay, thank you, Sierra, for letting me know. So how could an earthquake cause a landslide? Well, an earthquake could happen on a hill, and then an earthquake could happen on a hill, and then what could happen is all of that soil and that rock can fall from at the top of the hill to the bottom of the hill. Question number 2, look at the photo above. Circle an effect of the landscape. Describe what you circled below. So here's a bigger picture you guys can see. So look at this picture, okay? Circle an effect of the landslide. Describe what you circled below. So the road at the bottom of the hill was blocked. Do you guys see how there's this road? This black line with the yellow, that's an actual road that people drive on to get up the mountain. This was a landslide that happened. And look, this landslide caused all of these trees in this area to fall down. Look at all this mud. Look at all these trees that are fallen and broken. And then all that mud and that soil and those trees are now blocking the road. So people are not able to drive over it. I know you can't tell from above, but this is actually a huge mess. And all these trees and these branches and the trunks of the trees, it's making it so that it's impossible for people to get through until someone comes and cleans it up. Okay. All right. So I'm going to write the next one in the chat. To the road at the bottom of the hill was blocked. And then you can go ahead and circle that in your book. You can circle that right here. All right, let's move on to floods. Another event that can cause quick changes is a flood. A flood can happen when a lot of rain falls quickly. The rain cannot soak into the ground. Water from a flood can wear away rocks and soil. Floods make it hard for plants and animals to live. Okay, we're on page 38 and it says, go online, watch Earth changes quickly to see more landscape changes caused by earthquakes, landslides, floods, and volcanoes. So let's go ahead and watch that now. All right.
Did you know that the surface of Earth changes? Some changes happen slowly, over hundreds or thousands.
Let me pause the video for it to load for a little bit. All right.
Did you know that the surface of Earth changes? Some changes happen slowly, over hundreds or thousands of years. Other changes to Earth's surface can happen in just a few minutes or even seconds. Let's look at some of these quick changes and see how they happen. Volcanoes can cause quick changes to Earth's surface. Mount St. Helens is an active volcano in the state of Washington. A volcano is considered active if it has erupted in the last 10,000 years. This image was taken the day before it erupted in 1980. Before the volcano erupted, molten rock, or magma, had risen from deep underground. This created a growing bulge inside the volcano. An earthquake on the day of the eruption caused Earth's largest recorded landslide. The top of the volcano slid down the mountain at 70 to 150 miles per hour. Mount St. Helens released some of the built-up pressure in its magma system through explosions. These explosions sent rocks, ash, gas, and steam flying upward and outward at 300 miles per hour or more. This eruption dramatically changed the landscape. This is a picture of Mount St. Helens the day before it erupted. And this is a picture just a few days after it erupted.
Wow.
What differences do you notice? The mountain itself has a very different shape.
So look, before it was like very high. It looked like there was even some snow up there. Now there's definitely no snow. All of that snow melted. And look, there used to be all these trees, and now it's all those trees were disintegrated by the hot molten lava. And then also look at how the mountain looked before. The mountain was very tall, it had a very defined hill. And now it's like there's like this big old crater right here.
One side of the mountain collapsed, causing a huge landslide. The rock and ash from the eruption spread out over 230 square miles. This debris destroyed the plants and trees. Some volcanic eruptions include lava flows. This changes Earth's surface in a different way. The lava cools and hardens, creating a new rock layer. Let's look at another kind of quick change. How did these cracks in Earth happen? An earthquake caused them. Earthquakes cause parts of Earth's surface to shake. As large parts of Earth's surface slip past each other, the energy shakes the ground. This shaking can create cracks in Earth's surface in just seconds. Earthquakes can also cause landslides. This is what Earth can look like after a landslide, when a large amount of rocks and soil suddenly fall down a hill or mountain. Landslides make changes to Earth by reshaping the land in minutes or even seconds. Heavy rainfall can also cause landslides by loosening the rocks and soil on sloped land. Then gravity can cause the loosened material to slide down the slope. After a landslide, the slope will have a part that looks scooped out. That is where the rocks, soil, and plants used to be. At the bottom of the slope, there will be a pile of rocks, soil, and plants. Now you know that volcanoes, earthquakes, and landslides can change Earth quickly. Can you think of any other ways Earth's surface change?
All right, guys. So now let's go ahead and look at these questions. What effect might a flood have on a farm? Well, think about it. If there was a flood on a farm and the water was way too wet, then a lot of those plants would end up dying. Because even though plants need water, if you put too much water on a plant, then it's going to become, what's the word? It's going to become soaked in the water and it will drown. The plants will drown in the water because they won't be able to breathe enough with so much water, and all of those plants will die. So what effect might a flood have on a farm? So this is question number 1 for floods. So this is floods, page 38. The plants and animals on a farm could die. Now, write a caption for the photo below. So let's look at that photo below. What is happening to these houses? These homes have been flooded. You notice that, look, the homes are submerged underwater. Look, half of the house is underwater. It looks like if they were to try and walk outside, they probably wouldn't even be able to walk out there. They would have to swim. I don't think they would be able to touch the ground. I think the water level is way too high. All right, volcanoes. A volcano is an opening in Earth's surface where melted rock or gases are forced out. When a volcano erupts or blows up, lava flows onto parts of Earth's landscape. Most lava flows slowly. It covers the landscape. New land is made when lava cools back into solid rock. A volcano can give warnings for days or even weeks. It can have smaller explosions of heat and gases before it erupts. Explain how a volcano can change a landscape. And we're also going to be going online and exploring after disaster to observe how different events change the landscape. So how a volcano can change a landscape. When a volcano erupts, lava flows over the land. The lava cools and hardens into rock, and so the new land is formed. So lava flows over the land and hardens, and that's how new land is formed, because it'll look very, very different once that lava spreads over, and it's going to cover certain things, cover certain areas. All right, let's look at this after disaster. Flip over each photo to learn how earthquakes change landscapes, and impact communities. So these are all very quick changes. So this was after an earthquake. Oops. How do I flip the card over? Flip flashcard. Okay, in 1999, a large earthquake took place in Uzbazlar, Turkey. It measured at a magnitude of 7.4 on the Richter scale. That's very, very high. The earthquake destroyed 5-story buildings and many people were killed. The landscape was covered with pieces of buildings and trees. So look at all, so I guess there's no before picture, but look at this. This car was smashed. This must have been someone's home. Look, you could see like someone's dresser. Maybe this is like a refrigerator here. Look at all these, a lot of these buildings all collapsed and there's all this rubble. This looks like maybe someone's bed. A lot of people were hurt in this earthquake. It was a very quick change. Now let's look at this one. In 1906, an earthquake shook San Francisco. It measured a magnitude of 8 on the Richter scale. That's also very high. The earthquake caused large fires. The fires spread through the city and burned the landscape. People died when brick buildings collapsed. So because people were in these brick buildings, when all those bricks fell on them, then they died because they were crushed under all of the heaviness. And even fires can break out because what could happen is like gas, like when the way that you turn on like the stove, you need gas and you need fire, right? And so when that gas leaks because things break, then anything that can spark that fire, and then a fire can start. And you guys know, once fire starts, it's very hard to put them out, especially when they get very big. So earthquakes can cause a lot of damage. Flip over each photo to learn how landslides change landscape and impact communities. So here's a landslide here. A landslide near Osa, Washington in 2014, so not so long ago, destroyed a hillside when a large chunk of the hill fell into the Stillaguamish River. The disaster caused massive damage to nearby neighborhoods. Mud and debris fell on homes. Oh, wow, that's so sad. Look at all of that. Look at that huge landslide, and it destroyed all these homes. It changed the way that the land looked. A landslide in the steep mountain areas of El Salvador in 2001 was caused by a 7.5 magnitude earthquake off the coast. The landslide changed the landscape of the area. People were hurt or killed. The sliding land destroyed a section of the highway. It even buried houses in the mud. So you guys can see there looks like there were some houses here. And so this huge landslide was caused by an earthquake. The ground shook, and then the hill wasn't able to withstand it. And so it broke, and look at this highway. Look, there's all of these big trucks, and this is not a small truck. This is a huge truck trying to remove all of this rock and dirt and rubble and debris so that people could use this road again. And that probably took a very long time. Okay, next one, after disaster. Flip over each photo to learn how floods change landscapes and impact communities. So now we're going to look at floods. In New Orleans, Louisiana, they were hit by a Hurricane Katrina in 2005. The hurricane damaged the levees and the city flooded. Many people were homeless as water stayed in the city for weeks. And fun fact, Miss Park was actually in 7th grade when this happened. So I had friends who lived in New Orleans and their houses were flooded. And so they had to come and move, and they actually moved here to California because they were no longer able to live in their home. So they came and lived in California, and that's how I met them. But she was telling me that her house was so far deep into the water, like this house, that all of her stuff was ruined. Like her bed was underwater. All of the clothes in her closet were all wet, all of her school books, everything. So because everything was all, and the flood, not only does it just make everything wet, it destroys and it hurts and it disintegrates like your clothing, your stuff. So she had to throw all of it away. She had to throw all her clothes away. She had to throw all of her toys away, all of her books away. It was really, really sad. And then here's another one. In Sakunakan, Thailand, they flooded in 2017. The water flooded houses and covered rice fields. It changed the farming landscape in the area. So there was a lot of rice fields here. And if you guys ever eat rice, rice is made in these fields. And look, all of this water is making it so that the rice can't grow. And so these people were probably really affected by it because they probably lost a lot of their jobs and their businesses as well. So floods, earthquakes, volcanoes, they can all be very, very detrimental to people's well-being and the way that they live. So let's now look. I believe we only have 2 more pages. So here in 1980, an earthquake struck near Mount St. Helens in Washington. The earthquake caused a large volcanic eruption. The eruption caused an avalanche. Forests were burned and destroyed by the flow of lava and mud. Volcanic ash blasted high into the air and spread for miles. You could see this volcano erupted and it created this huge landslide. And look at all of these trees that were destroyed. And then here's one more. Here in Mount Merapi in Java, Indonesia, it erupted in 2006 and ash from the volcanic eruption buried nearby houses. Oh, and so look, there was this house, and look, this house probably went all the way down here. This is a window, so there's probably more down here. And this house was buried by all the ash that came from that volcano. It was very dangerous. Sometimes one disaster can lead to another. How can natural disasters combine to cause changes to the landscape? Describe the type of changes that can happen when 2 or more natural disasters strike the same area. So think about it. We learned about that. Floods can cause landslides because the water, all of the water flooding can cause a landslide and like mud to fall over on a hill. An earthquake can also cause a landslide. An earthquake can shake at the top of a hill, causing all this rock and rubble to fall down. A volcano, a volcanic eruption can cause a fire because it's so hot and so it's melting things and it's also burning things away. So it can cause a fire. And the fires can also cause, and also the volcano erupting and things flying everywhere, it also causes a landslide. So a lot of natural disasters, like the volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, floods, a lot of them also can be connected with landslides as well. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and now look at our closed reading. Okay, we're just going to read this. Landscape changes. Look at this. This is Moss Beach in California, where we live. Weathering and erosion can take thousands of years. A landslide can change a hill in a minute. Landscapes change in different ways. What kinds of changes can happen? It depends on the materials that make up a landscape. A hill of grass and soil may wash away if the landscape floods, but a mountain made of rock would not change at all to the naked eye. How do you think the rocks have been changed by water and erosion? The photo above is Red Rock Canyon State Park in California. It is full of rock formations. How do you think these rock formations have changed over time? Wind carrying fine sand slowly polishes the rock formations. Rainwater washes away weathered material. What evidence do you see in this photo that erosion has happened? You guys can see all of those grooves. You could see how it lines, how there's different parts of that hill. All right. We are now going to move on to and if you want to learn about the physicist, you can read that on your own. We're going to move on to our explain the phenomenon, our evaluate. So everyone go to page 48 and 49. We are now going to be working on pages 48 and 49, which is our evaluate. If you don't have your book, you guys can do it online and you can actually type it up online as well. Quick changes to Earth's landscape. Question number 1, what happened to the land? Explain what happened to the land. Can you guys type in the chat? What phenomenon do you think caused this change to this land? What do you guys think? Was it a flood, an earthquake, a volcanic eruption, or a landslide? What do you guys think caused this? Very good, Ava. I believe you're correct. An earthquake. An earthquake made the land shake. This caused the ground to crack. Very good. Okay, page 49. You can just write an earthquake. Oh, that's all you need to do for that one. If you want to write more, you can. Okay, number 1, three-dimensional thinking. Which item below describes a quick change to Earth's landscape? A, B, C, or D? A, a stone becoming smooth. Does that happen quickly? B, dirt moving down a steep hill. Does that happen quickly? C, flat land becoming a canyon. Does that happen quickly? And then D, a glacier flattening the land below it. Which of those would happen quickly? A, B, C, or D? All of the other ones are slow changes. All of the other ones are slow changes. Only one of them is a quick change. Can anyone tell me for question number 1, which of these is a quick change? Which item below describes a quick change to Earth's landscape? B, very good, Danica, Ava, Russell, Nicholas, Maley. Dirt moving down a steep hill is correct. That is a quick change. Now choose all of the events that can be caused by too much rain. When there is too much rain, what could happen? An earthquake, a flood, a landslide, or a volcano? Okay, B is correct. There's also one more. A flood can also cause a what? A landslide. Very good. Too much rain can cause both a flood and a landslide. Very good. Number 3, explain how rain can cause the events you chose in question number 2. A flood happens when a lot of rain falls in a short time. The ground cannot soak up the water quickly enough, so too much rain can cause the soil to break up and slide down a hill. All right, guys. You can write it in your own words for question number 3. That is all we have for today. Tomorrow, we're going to review all of this and we're going to take your quiz. All right. If you guys have any questions, you guys can ask them now. If not, you guys are free to go.